Hey, what's up guys? I am DJ Alex Brown, and in today's video, we're going to be talking about how DJ scams work and how you can prevent yourself from being scammed by these DJ scammers. Before we get into going through a set of messages that I have between me and a scammer, I just want to explain how these scams work. Basically, the basic principle is that the scammers are going to reach out to you posing as someone planning an event, and they need a DJ for the event. They're gonna offer to pay you an outrageous amount of money. So they're gonna ask you for a rate basically, and you'll say, you know, $1 million, and they'll be like, well, I'm okay with that, but I'm in the hospital and I have some medical bills I need to pay, so I'm gonna pay you the $1 million, but I need $2,000 sent to me to pay my medical bills. Or they'll say, I'm gonna give you a generous tip, but can you help me out with these bills, and I'll pay you the extra money for the bills, but I need you to send it to the person who I owe the money for the bills for. This might sound very complex and confusing right now, but it'll become clear later in the video when I start going through text messages with a scammer. You might be thinking, well, why is that a scam? The reason that it's a scam is because the scammer, however they send you that payment, say it's a check, it's a fake check. So they send you the check, you go deposit it in your bank, you say Venmo them the money that they asked for their bills, or you Venmo the money to the other person for their bills, whatever it is. And then 7 days later, the check bounces because it doesn't actually exist. There's no account that it was tied to. It was totally fake. And so the bank takes the funds out of your account that came from that check, and the scammer still has your money that you sent them. Basically, a safe way to prevent this is don't send your clients money. There's a few different ways that these work. So sometimes it involves credit cards, sometimes it involves checks. I'm gonna get into all that in the video, but the main thing that I wanna get across for all those people who are probably going to leave by this point in the video is that the way to prevent scams like this from happening to you is like super simple. Basically, first of all, educate yourself on how these scams work. Now, watching this video in its entirety is going to give you plenty of education on how these scams work, and hopefully it'll stop you from getting scammed by these people in the future. The other thing is have a basically anti-spam feature in place, and it doesn't have to involve technology or anything. Mine is very simple. I'm going to talk about it later in the video, so make sure to stick around, but something as simple as saying you're required to get on the phone with me to discuss pricing. If you believe someone's a scammer, just send them, you know, when can we chat on the phone? I only discuss pricing over the phone. I'll talk more about this later in the video. Scammers rarely get on the phone. If they do get on the phone, it's usually very obvious that they're not from the United States. The first thing I want to do right now is look at the way that I actually tell if someone's a scammer and the things that I say to them. Because basically what I say is this in a text message. It's automatic reply. I basically just send them, hi, thanks for messaging us. Your message has been flagged as spam. Please schedule a call at this link if you would like more information about my services. Something along those lines. I use my Calendly link. I have never misinterpreted a client as a scammer, although I did recently have a client. I was like, they could be a scammer, but they also could just be a normal client. I encouraged them to get on the phone. They were okay with getting on the phone in the first place. We chatted on the phone, and it became pretty obvious to me that the guy was not a scammer. I also, if I really want to play with a scammer, or if I'm really unsure, I'll send the scammer a link using Grabify, and this is basically how I do that. So this is Grabify, and these are two of the URLs that I have used before and captured some scammers' information to be able to tell if they're actually a scammer or not. And it's not always going to be definitive, but for example, I've directed people to my contact page using this redirect link, and as you can see, one here came up as actually being local, or at least from the data that we can get. However, this one shows that it's from Miami, and then it also shows that it's a text now phone number. And then the other thing is this little red dot means that it may be a VPN, which means that they could be outside of the country and they're using a text now number to get a US phone number and using a VPN to get a United States location. And in this one, again, you can see within a very short time frame there are 2 pings, one from a local, which is probably a VPN, and then one from Nigeria. So clearly this is a Nigerian scammer. So now we're gonna start going through some actual text messages with a scammer. I'm aware that this may not be the most entertaining part of the video, but I would encourage you to please stick around. This is a very important part of the video if you want to not be scammed. They're usually gonna start off by asking something like, are you this company, or do you provide DJ services? Then they're gonna say, they always say their name. You know, in this case, it's, I am Shane West. You know, totally sounds like a BS made up name. I wanna know if you're available for my daughter's birthday. The first thing that you can see here is that they haven't given an event date, they haven't given a venue. Now, some people don't send that stuff, but it's not very common for somebody to state their full name in a first message to you and then not include details like the venue. Or I have had a client before, actually very recently, that sent me a message that only included his first name, and he just was asking if I did weddings in Westerly, which is a part of Rhode Island. I thought it might be a little spammy, but I replied to him anyway, and he ended up being a legitimate client. So it's when they give you like a full name or something that personally puts me off a little bit and says, yeah, this might be a scammer. Now, going further down, I'm asking, obviously, where's your event? What's your venue? Because all DJs, we need to know that. You know, where's your event? He says, hello. A lot of times with scammers, you'll get these things because a message might not go through to them even though you sent it, because they're not using an actual phone number. They're usually using, you know, text now or something, and they'll say hello, but you know, they'll follow up with you because they want their scam to work. They make a lot of money off these scams. You know, when he said hello, I said, hi, did you receive my last message? And he said he didn't. This is where it again becomes very clear that he's a scammer, because he says the event name birthday party would be held. Event venue, I have to blur out this address. He probably just ripped someone's address off of Zillow or something. There's a few things that make it very obvious that this is a scammer. The first thing is broken English. Now, I've dealt with customers before that don't speak English the best. The venue is at a residence. It's never a real venue with these scammers. They never have a real venue. It's always the venue is at some house in a backyard or something, which isn't unheard of. So I ask when they're gonna have the party, and I say that I have a minimum fee of $1,000, which is ridiculous for a backyard party. 6 hours is a little bit long, but $1,000 is ridiculous. But this is one thing that you can do is scammers will pay basically whatever your fee is because they're not actually paying it. So another thing that has made it clear is that he talks about a processing fee. Not a problem, I accept credit cards via Venmo. And he says he's unable to remit his credit card on Venmo. Now, I don't know anybody who talks like that. He won't use Venmo or PayPal. It's not gonna go through and work for his scam. Now he's asking about using Square because I guess these scammers have some way of making it work with Square. So this is just another thing that throws you off. I've had them ask in the past, who is your credit card processing merchant? Which is not a question that a typical client would ask. They usually don't care. I'm just playing with him. So I said, yeah, I take PayPal, that works. And he says, he's gonna text me his credit card info and wants me to use a Square reader to process it. Just super weird. Most people don't wanna send you their credit card information. And now comes the big obvious scammer thing. He wants to know if I can do him a little favor with the payment for the decorations. And I ask what the favor is, and he says, I haven't balanced up their remaining fees for the event planning. The event planner didn't have a credit card machine. Basically, he wants me to charge his credit card an extra almost $2,000 plus an additional tip so that it's a little incentive for me to do it. Here's another way that you can prevent yourself from getting scammed. If he wants you to pay somebody, find out who's the event planning company, and he says, oh, it's a private company. I'm like, what's the name of the company? And the reason that you can ask this is because you can call up the company and say, hey, I have a Shane West that's asking me to submit a payment to you and charge him additionally because he's a client of yours and owes you money. They'll probably say, let me check and see, that sounds pretty weird, but let me see if we have them in the system. and they're gonna say, no, we don't have a Shane West in the system. It's probably a scammer or something along those lines. And they'd probably be right, because this is obviously a scammer. Yes, I'm ready to process the payment, but I have a 7-day minimum waiting period for any credit cards to be processed and the funds to clear into the account. Again, another way to prevent yourself from getting scammed. And as soon as I challenged him on this, he said, oh, there's no problem at all. I sent him another message and he never replied after that, because I was very firm on the 7-day waiting period. Another thing about these scammers is that their events are usually close in the future. So in this case, this text thread was from months ago. And I was saving it to make this video. They'll usually reach out a month or two ahead of time before their event. It could even be a couple of weeks, because they are looking to turn this around fast, and they want to be able to convince you that, oh, well, I need to pay the full event amount now because the event is right around the corner. So be wary of that. If you have ever been scammed by one of these people, whether it's on Craigslist, Facebook, as a DJ, whatever it may be, I want to hear from you in the comments. I also want to let you know some of the inspiration for this video, including Grabify, came from the YouTube channel Pleasant Green. Ben over at Pleasant Green makes a lot of videos about scammers, and he does a really good job of playing with these people. So I'll leave a link to his channel in the description if you want to check his videos out. But other than that, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you got some value out of this video. If you did, make sure you leave me a thumbs up on the video. If you watched this long, you must have enjoyed it, so hit that subscribe button and ring that notification bell. That's going to be it for this one, so until next time, peace.